Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the new Tier 7 Pan-Asian cruiser, the Harbin. So with that being said, let's look at our commander. We're running Chen Xiaoquan with Francesco Membelli and Nikolai Kuznetsov as our inspirations. We are running Beyond Range, Blind Justice, Back in Stock, Torpedo Chaos, and Fully Packed as our skills. Do not forget, we are on the path to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. It does help the channel out quite a bit and be a part of that journey for us. Now, for equipment, we are running Aiming Systems Mod 1. We are running Propulsion Mod. We are running Concealment System Mod. And we are running Main Battery Mod 3. We are fully upgraded. And we are, because we're running fully packed, we have 4 smoke screens, 3 repair parties, and 3 torpedo reload boosters. We do run the Epic Battle Booster on this for a little bit of extra range and movement speed and cooldown on the consumables. And then, of course, we're running a Imperial Japanese Navy camo because I like the look of it. And the Italian Unity flag because it kind of looks like a Spartan helmet if you squint just right. Specs. For survivability, you get 26,500 hit points and no torp reduction. Artillery. You get 130mm 50 caliber model 1936s. You get 10 of them in a 5x2 configuration. They fire out to 17.3 kilometers. They reload in just 4.7 seconds with this build. 180-degree turn time is 8.5 seconds. HE is maximum damage of 1900 with a 7% chance to set fires. And AP shell maximum damage is 2500. Torpedoes. 533mm 1-in. You get 12 of them. You get 2 triple launchers per side of the ship. They reload in 108 seconds. They do a maximum damage of 18,600, and because they are deep water torpedoes, you cannot use them against destroyers, but everything else is fair game. And they are very sneaky with a higher chance of causing flooding. 0.8 kilometer detectability for those torpedoes. 11.9 kilometer torpedo range, and the torpedo speed isn't even that slow at 62 knots. It's not fast, but it's not that slow either. AA defense is okay at 20mm Orlik Mark 20s. You get 16 of those doing 49 damage per second, reaching out to 2 kilometers. You have the 37mm 61 Shees. You get 20 of those doing 92 damage per second, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. Then you have the 37mm 46Ks. You get 16 of those doing 49 damage per second, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. And you have the 130mm 50 caliber Model 1936 dual-purpose main guns. You get 10 of those doing 68 damage per second, reaching out to 5.2 kilometers. Maneuverability, maximum speed 34.4 knots. Turning circle is 660 meters, and a rudder shift time of 6.9 seconds with this build. Concealment is pretty freaking nasty. 9.7 kilometers with this build, with a detectability by air of 6.4. Guaranteed is always 2, and the detectability while firing in smoke, you got to remember this number, 6.1 kilometers. Okay? Statistics. Let's take a look at how I've done in this ship. We have a 67% win rate in this ship. We have played 9 battles. We've won 6 of them. We have a 42% main gun accuracy and an 8% torpedo accuracy. Our average damage is 82,000 with an average XP of 1774. Average potential is 637,000. Okay. Armor. You don't have any. Do not let this lie to you. You do not have armor. Do not trust this thing to block anything other than cruisers, and I mean small cruisers. Okay? Light cruisers you can angle against, but you still have no armor. Okay? It's 16 millimeters everywhere, except your citadel and your turrets. Everything else is 16 millimeters or less. So keep that in mind. So let's take a look at what's wrong with this ship, and that is this. Gigantic citadel, sits way above the water, and is your armor belt. This is why you have no torp production. Okay? This is exactly why. And unlike the Amalfi, don't count on this to save you. And I'll tell you why. Because of this. This is 16 millimeters. And it is your upper side plating. Which means anything larger than a heavy cruiser overmatches you and can absolutely citadel you with any sort of barely plunging fire. It's going to be disgusting. Trust me, if you take a shell in this ship from anything that is bigger than a heavy cruiser, you will absolutely be sent back to port. Not only that, but anything, even heavy cruiser, can pin you at stupid angles because you have zero angling on the sides of the ship. It is a flat wall, meaning heavy cruisers can pin it from pretty much everywhere. Anything Balti, Tallinn, any sort of heavy cruisers that you run into, if they're firing AP, they're probably going to punch through. And again, that Citadel is just absolutely begging to be smacked. So, play at your own risk. This is not a ship designed for solo players, okay? Just throwing that out there. Repeater, equipped or can be equipped with torpedo reload booster. Deep water torpedoes are harder to spot but cannot hit destroyers. And modest guns. You have 5.1 inch guns. You get little 130 millimeter guns. It might be 5.2, something like that. It's slightly larger than 5-inch guns, okay? A small cruiser with dual-purpose artillery, the project of which was developed in the the USSR at the turn of the 1930s. It was the Mark VI prototype. The ship was primarily designed to counter enemy destroyers, which is hilarious because it has absolutely nothing to counter enemy destroyers other than fast-firing guns. Can't hit them with torpedoes, doesn't have sonar, doesn't have radar, has nothing to counter destroyers in this game. At all. Year of design is 1941. So let's take a look at this thing. Other than the fact that I like the camo in this, that's why I chose it, obviously. But other than the fact that it sits so high out of the water, if this thing sat a little bit lower in the water, it would probably be an absolute ridiculous ship. But because it sits so high up out of the water, and that Citadel is so accessible, like this thing does not get the benefit of the doubt. This thing, if you shoot this thing with anything larger than heavy cruisers, it is Citadel City. Like this thing makes the Pensacola look like it is a tanky ship. Okay? So do not be taking rounds in the ship if you can avoid it. But if you can manage to get some spotting, the smoke screens are pretty nice to have. You get them relatively quickly. They reload relatively quickly. So even after you utilize a smoke screen, you can do some serious work. The torpedoes are insane, especially if you're in a kiting position and you can launch off either side of the ship and then use your torpedo reload. You can throw so many torpedoes at somebody, it's actually insane. So with all of that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on the Atlantic, and we got to talk about this thing. So, personally, the reason I think that this thing is just absolutely not meant for solo players is that you just don't get team support. And this ship really needs some team support. It can absolutely handle a flank on its own, but if you don't have spotting at any point, like, you really, really are going to struggle to have any sort of fun in this ship. Now, we're going to have a ridiculous game in this ship to showcase, but it's also going to showcase the strengths and the weaknesses of the ship. And I'll be just 100% with you, I have not enjoyed my time in this ship. And it's not the ship's fault necessarily. It's just that the playstyle does not work very well for solo players. And like I said, if you don't have spotting, or if you're on a giant map, like this isn't particularly a great map for it, but it's a smaller map. It's not the largest map in the world, but it's a map that kind of is going to force everybody to come to us a little bit, which is going to allow us to utilize this thing the way it's meant to be played. With the exception of, we're not actually going to get to have that much fun because we're going to spend the entire game running for our goddamn lives. Because we are going to have no support. We initially have a cruiser over here, which I believe is a mines, but that mines is going to disappear relatively quickly, and that is going to leave me versus everybody on this side of the map. And when I say everybody, I mean a whole bunch of heavy cruisers. Or not heavy cruiser, but battleships, sorry. I'm all flabbergasted tonight. I apologize. But we're going to go ahead and launch some area denial torpedoes over here at the right side. We know that the enemy is coming this direction. We can see an Iwami coming. We don't know what else is out there, but if we launch to the inside of that island, we know from experience that a lot of people tend to get to that edge of that island and slow down and stop right there. So there's a chance that if they overrun that island, we can catch them with some torpedoes. And that's always fun. Now, I was, gonna put myself into the cap here, but I decided to go behind the island, and it's probably for the best that I did. Otherwise, I would have probably gotten sent back to port in a hurry. Because as you're about to see, we're about to get the enemy spotted as soon as we come around this island. There is a Richelieu just absolutely begging for it. Now, I know that everybody that speaks French hates the way that I say Richelieu, so I apologize. But there he is. And we have a 9.7 kilometer surface detectability, which means, guess what? We're detected. So immediately I start turning away. I'm dropping my freaking smoke screen. I'm going to go ahead and drop some torpedoes out the left side. I used my first reload booster on my torpedoes. And we are going to flip all the way back around, hopefully not getting slapped in the process. As you can see, our area denial torpedoes were very effective, and we've already caused this man to lose his damage con, or his first damage con, so we're going to go ahead and start shooting HE at him. We also have torpedoes on the way, and you can see that I should have continued to rotate the other direction. That would have put me in a good position to kite away, and it would have allowed us to launch torps off the other side of the ship, which would have allowed us to put an entire wall of skill there, but unfortunately we didn't. Now we've got one permafire going on the Richelieu, and we are going to go ahead and continuously try to shoot him, and then the Awami is going to give himself a chance to get spotted here, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can't spread the love a little bit, see if we can't get some fires on him as well. But you can see between me and the cruiser that's next to me, we're going to try to do our best to winning this side of the map. Now, we've already done a ridiculous amount of damage to this poor Richelieu due to damage over time and torpedoes. So we're going to go ahead and utilize our smoke screen while we can, get going. We have propulsion mod, so it allows us to get moving relatively easily. We're going to flip all the way back around. We're going to drop some torpedoes off the right side of the well, it'd be the left side of the ship. And we're going to use the smoke once again to continue to try to get behind these guys and get some space. Now watch where I'm heading. Look at the nose of my ship. I am heading right for the border, and this is ultimately going to be a huge problem for me. Now, we've got a shot out on the Richelieu. Are we going to be able to finish him? Nope. The mines manages to steal it from us, unfortunately. But now you can see that we have two Awamis pushing up on us. And so we're going to, once again, try to keep our distance, and immediately I turn back the wrong way, thinking I could potentially get some torpedoes away, and I am in fact going to get some torpedoes away here, but I'm also running right into the border to do so, which is not ideal when you're going to have a whole lot of big guns shooting at your very squishy little cruiser. So fortunately, we get lucky. They hit us with a couple of shells, and then we're able to get out of the way of them. And then here we need to go dark. They are 11.6 kilometers away, so as long as we don't fire our guns, we're not going to get detected. We're going to go dark eventually. And we need that right now. Like, we need to be dark now. But you can see, he is just pushing us. He has nothing to fear, and we got very lucky there to get overpinned. That should have probably been a kill for him, to be honest. You don't have hit points in this thing. That's the other thing. This thing does not have hit points. It has nothing, okay? So you have no hit points. You have the most exposed citadel on the planet. And you can see we launched those torpedoes out ahead of him. We're not going to hit the Awami that we're shooting at. But look at the Awami behind him. He has managed to sail right into the path of two of our torpedoes. And so we are going to manage to get him. Now, obviously, he's going to go ahead and try to put that out as soon as he can, anyway. So we know that he's on damage control cooldown. We've got fires burning on the Awami that's closing the distance. We've got plenty of time here, but look at the distance. He's getting close to our smoke firing penalty. So we need to start with our escape plan. Remember, we're right up against the border as well. Here you can see, instead of shooting the guy that's chasing us, we're going to go for the guy that we know is on damage con cooldown, so we can get some of those fires burning, preferably. But as you can see, unfortunately, our buddy that was in a cruiser is now dead. And that leaves two Awamis and nothing else to shoot at except me. Which means I gotta have my evasion game on point. And let's be real, it's just a matter of time before you get caught. But we're gonna do a really good job. Now, we got a flood on the Awami that's closest to us. He's going to likely damage con that as soon as he can. But we've already got 128,000 damage. We are absolutely steamrolling this side. But, again, the downside is, while we do have a permanent flood and we are trying to get fires on this front Awami to help take him out, the downside is, because you have so few hit points, you're only one screw-up away from certain death. Okay? So that is the downside of this ship. The lack of hit points, the lack of any chance of survivability if you take hits is just, it's completely and utterly, like, miserable. Like, you have to be perfect at all times or you die. And here, you're going to see, after doing so well for so long, you can see we're going back. We know we got this Iwami pretty close. We go ahead, dodge. He gets us with one shell right up the prop shaft. Not ideal. He fires another shot, and we're going to try to split it. We managed to get an overpin on the tower, and we're going to go back to firing the guns. We do have a reload booster available, so we want to get ready to shoot those if we can. But we also want to set this guy on fire, and that's when I look over, and this guy shot his guns at me, unfortunately, and I made one mistake. Oh no! We live! We live! It's okay! We still can't go dark because he's still just a little too close, and here he catches me turning back in, and that is death. As you can see, only one Citadel and one penetration, but that's all he needed. Now, fortunately, we are going to kill him, but doesn't matter because this game is over for us. We managed to get the Arsonist, we get the flesh wound, we've done everything we can. 192,000 damage, we get a second kill. Or no, we only get one kill, sorry. But we only hit 5 torpedoes during that. It seemed like we hit a lot more than that. But again, because like every torpedo you fire pretty much causes a flood. So as long as you're hitting any torpedoes, they do a decent amount of damage. They reload pretty quickly. You got the stupid reload boosters. You got the fire ability as well. So you can stack up a lot of damage over time on the enemy. But that's where we stop talking about the ship, and we start talking about what my team has managed to do, or in this case, end up not doing. We weren't able to secure our flank. We held it as long as we could. And I think we did an admirable job, considering that we were literally 1v3 over there, essentially, because our mines took off, ran, and then died immediately. So it ended up being us versus everybody. Our battleships have spent the entire goddamn game hiding as far away from everything as possible, and they are going to be completely irrelevant in this. And this is the problem. Like, you got one team that has battleships pushing forward, grabbing caps, and you got another team that has had their battleships sailing around in circles at the back of the map and not doing really anything effective. But that being said, the enemy is going to try to win harder. They really are. The enemy is in a position where they absolutely have the advantage. They don't have to do anything, and they win this fight. They have all the caps. All they have to do is stay at the... Look at the points difference. All they have to do is not give themselves up to be absolutely ruined. Now, here we have an Iwami, and he's looking at the Palmer. He fires his guns. He's going to get a pretty good salvo into the Palmer. And then he's going to go ahead and utilize what the Iwami is known for, which is those ridiculous torpedoes. Has 4 of them. And the Palmer, of all ships, completely forgets about the Iwami's torpedoes. Maybe he doesn't even know that the Iwami has them, but he's about to find out the old-fashioned way. Palmer, you're not the only ship on the seas that has torpedoes. So you might want to start to think about that before you start YOLO rushing other battleships. And you can see, being broadside to the Iwami, he just gets slapped again, and then this is certain death. Like, he didn't change course at all. Every one of these torps hits. If he was full... one of them missed. But if he was full health, that would have still been probably enough to kill him. Between the salvo coming in from the Iwami and then those torpedoes, like, it was GG. But look at the cap. Our Richelieu has decided to run from the cap. He's chasing a Balti. He's going to put himself in actually a position to potentially counter the enemy Iwami as well. That's going to put himself in the center of the map. And again, this Iwami captured that base at Alpha. All he had to do is sit behind that island. He wins the game, right? But he doesn't. He can't do it. He has to push up. He has to put himself in a stupid crossfire between everybody on our team. And that allows our team to absolutely neuter this guy. The downside is, this game is going to come down to one thing, and that is destroyer. And when you get an opportunity to shoot a destroyer, I've said this a million times, guys. If you get an opportunity to shoot a destroyer, you see a destroyer, you shoot the destroyer. Battleships, I don't care how broadside they are. I don't care how much health they have. Stop shooting battleships before destroyers. If you see a destroyer, shoot the destroyer. Because, guess who's got the ability to never be seen again? It's not the battleship. I can tell you that right now. It's the destroyer. And now you can see their destroyer is very low health. And we have a battleship right there that's capable of shooting him. He's got front guns ready. He takes a shot and doesn't manage to kill him. The battleship behind us in the main, he's shooting HE at a freaking battleship that's burning to death already. And so, needless to say, the Baltimore, who's in a position to get killed, the Iwami's in a position to get killed. The only thing that isn't is the destroyer. And all the destroyer has to do is run away, and he wins this fight. Newsflash, the destroyer runs away and wins this fight. Despite his team's best efforts to throw this match, the fact that they were able to hold all three caps for so long gave them the advantage, and there was nothing our team could do about it. This is why it's so important for battleships to stop playing the back line and actually get involved in the fight. You have to. You can't sit at maximum range the entire game doing circle after circle and expect to win the matches. You've got to start using your ship, using your hit points, putting yourself in positions to counter enemy ships. Having all of that firepower does the team absolutely no good if you're just going to sit at the back of the map. Now, as you can see, Richelieu and the Suja managed to take down the Balti. And the Richelieu is in the cap, but unfortunately, guess what? The destroyer has the ability to remove anybody on the game at any time without ever being spotted. And guess what happens? He launches on the Richelieu. And the Richelieu, sailing in a straight line for too long, tunnel visioning on the Baltimore, catches every one of the torpedoes and goes down. And that does it right there. I mean, now they have a 400-point lead on us, essentially. So there is no chance that we win this fight. But I'm going to save you guys the little bit of time it's going to take for us to like chase him down and the game to end. And we'll just skip to the end. But yeah, so while we wrap this one up, I want to give you guys my final thoughts on this Harbin. I think in a division, this thing would be absolutely game-breaking potentially. With the quick reload on those torpedoes, the amount of torpedo reload boosters that you have, I think this thing could be absolutely crazy with some spotting. But as a solo player, as you can see, 2,000 base XP and a loss, you struggle. And that was the best game that I've had in this thing by far. But you saw the strength and the weakness of the ship with catching 2 rounds and getting depth struck. Like, you just don't have the hit points. You have an exposed citadel, and it's all flat armor. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.